Spyderco Dragonfly. This is a good EDC knife choice. Previously reviewed in the Nutnfancy project, you'll see an annotation. Both of my vids I have on this blade. They've been out there a while. Lots of good things I said about it. Still apply. Full flat ground, VG10 stainless blade, razor sharp, out of the box. Deploys fast, locks up solid. Nice thumb ramp, albeit no jumping. That sucks. Had to put some skateboard tape on it. Built-in clip to the FRN handle. Just a great blade. 1.2 ounces too. Featherweight. I named that video Airweight Utility. I think that's pretty applicable to the Dragonfly. Incidentally, when I break out a likability scale on a blade like this, there's a lot of factors that go into it. And if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, if you look in the sidebar description of all of my videos, at least the ones I started doing this about a year and a half ago or something, I break out a likability scale just for a quick reference for my TMPers. They can tell instantly what I feel about a blade. A lot of factors go into that, and one of the main factors when we get into this POU, EDC/utility knife, is cost. Excuse me. One reason the Dragonfly took a hit for my likability scale, I think currently it's at 7 out of 10. I say currently because that, by the way, is subject to change. As I experience more with the item, whether it's a gun, knife, tactical gear, tent, whatever, I always reserve the right to change my likability scale, and I have done so on some videos. Just depends. Some have gone up, some have gone down. Currently, mid-2010, about 7 out of 10. What hurts a Dragonfly is cost. It's around $40 or so, 35 to 40 for the FRN version. They have stainless steel handled versions, a G10 version, which I think goes all the way up to like $67. That's a lot for such a tiny little knife, in my opinion. Unassisted opening, it's just a manual action knife. If you wanted a very subcompact, that's kind of what I'll say. This is a subcompact utility/EDC blade. Maybe Dragonfly is one of them you were stuck with if you want to stick with a Spyderco brand. I'm not going to talk about the Dragonfly in this review though. I'm going to talk about something that's a lot more affordable, that's even smaller and lighter than the Dragonfly. Yeah, it makes some compromises in terms of steel and lockup, but if you can live with those, you're going to get a ton of blade for the money, and you're still going to stay within the Spyderco brand name. Those blades are, wait for it, the Spyderco bug knives. That's right. I love these blades. Remember what I said, likability in this POU for this item, for me, money has a lot to do with it. In other words, how much am I spending on that blade and what do I get for my money? That could be said for pretty much anything I review here in the Nutnfancy project, with few exceptions, and there are always exceptions. In other words, something might be very expensive, but I will still give it a very high likability scale because of the value I get in return, what I get in return. These knives rock though. I'm going to start it off in terms of value. Right out the gate, in fact. This one, by the way, and I'm going to use Mr. Dragonfly as a pointer just because he's handy here. This tiny one right here is the Spyderco Bug. This middle one is the Honeybee. This one is the Grasshopper. 3 bug knives from Spyderco. They may add to the line, change it, delete it, I don't know. Knife manufacturers, depends on how they sell. It determines on what they do with the line and if they continue to carry it. My prediction is they're going to continue to sell quite well. And again, let's talk about value. This knife, and I'm going to talk very specific values at my favored retailer as of mid-2010, right there in annotation. You'll see it, yourcornerstore.com. Great supporters of the Nutnfancy project. They've done such a great job, Mike and crew, hooking up TMPers with good blades with cheap prices. I'll tell you, Mike's margins suck. Yeah, that's right. You heard me right. He does not make a lot of money on each blade. There's no way. He makes it up in volume, selling a lot of blades. So, small amount made on each blade, a lot of volume. This is a perfect example. This knife, the bug knife at your corner store, $4.45, $5.54, $8.36. What? Dude, seriously, that is a lot of knife for a very small amount of money. Spyderco branded blades. Dudes, when I was a kid in the 70s too, I remember going to dime stores and picking up blades the size of this bug knife. I always loved them. Yeah, they were a dime, a quarter, whatever, and I would think they would actually cut. Nope, they sucked. The steel on them was a joke, and they would break within about a day, and then they'd be gone. But I still loved them. I thought it was cool. It was novelty to have, a knife that small. You guys might be saying, well, how small is it? Let me bring in another favored EDC blade, pretty much carried daily by me, the outstanding Victorinox Cadet. And dudes, I will say I have sold thousands of these through the Nutnfancy project. Not me directly, but through my retailers like yourcornerstore.com. A lot of guys have gone to amazon.com and bought them. The Victorinox Cadet, great blade. I'm going to get distracted here. Drivers, got to get, nail action on it. Yeah, I've been engraving lately, so that's just kind of what I'm doing these days. I won't go into specifics, but look for size. Check this out. That thing's tiny, man. That is the bug knife fitting completely in extended open position on top of the Cadet by Victorinox. That gives you an idea of how tiny that blade is. A lot of guys will refer to it as a keychain knife. I think that's an accurate description. Let's talk specifics. I already talked about the amazing value. I'll get back to that before I end it. This knife, the little tiny one, and then let me put this. Actually, I want to do this. This will be hilarious. Here comes a full flat ground Spyderco Endura. Love it. And it's going to hold this blade so you can focus on it closer. This one has 1 5/16 inch blade, or I forget what it is in metric. Apologize for that. 0.4 ounces. Very tiny. Again, $4.45. Then we go up in size to the Honeybee. Cute little names. Also fitting on the blade of Big Brother Endura FFG. 1 5/8 inch length blade, 41 millimeters. 0.6 ounces. It's not even an ounce. Has a 6 millimeter deployment hole. I think it's still too small, at least for me, to deploy one-handed. Okay, then we get to Big Brother in the lineup. Will he fit on the blade of the Endura? Not so much. It's because it's a bigger knife. Very capable pocket knife, actually. That's a Grasshopper. 2 5/16 inch blade, 59 millimeters. 7 millimeter deployment hole right there. And it's 2.25 millimeters thick. 1.4 ounces for the Grasshopper. I know I keep saying it that way. It's ridiculous. Let me tell you now, this is my favorite out of the series right here, the Grasshopper. It is amazing. And yes, I've done a few things to my blades. I just can't help myself. I just can't. Honestly, I've been wanting to go in the shop and do some blade mods. I have some projects that are I just dig it. I just want to work on it, but I'm trying to get vids out for you guys, so I got to put them on the back burner. I did take this Grasshopper, gemmed it a la Dremel style. I know, my workmanship on that sucks. It's good enough. For an $8 knife, who cares? Why do you need jimping on that? Nutnfancy. You need to ask. You need to go watch some more Nutnfancy knife videos, seriously. These are not locking blades, by the way. They're SlipIt knives, as Spyderco calls it. UKT and peers rejoice. You poor guys and gals over there have to deal with those UK knife laws. A lot of Europeans do. They're just absolutely atrocious. I know. If it's, my understanding, under 3 inches, non-locking variety, you guys can score these knives, carry them pretty much anywhere without getting hassled by the man over there. Yeah, these SlipIts will rock. This Grasshopper is an amazing little blade. I was asking myself too, I was like, well, how amazing is it? How much cutting performance do these knives have? I'm just totally leveling with you guys like I always do. Because when you break them out of box, you get them and you go, well, here comes another one. Yeah, I got more than a few. I'll engrave one here or there and give it to friends and TMPers occasionally. Don't bug me. Pun intended. Check this one out. From the box, I'm actually, to be honest with you, not too impressed with the edge. It kind of sucks, in fact. The good news is it responds very nicely to some manual ceramic rod sharpening that I did. I have another vid out there floating around that I show you how to do that. And no, I'm not Mr. Knife Sharpener. But it came out really nice. The blade steel is 3 CR, what is it? 3, not 8 CR, 13 MOV. It's 3 CR, 13 MOV. So it has a lower carbon content, about, my understanding, 0.26 to 0.35 carbon content for this knife steel that Spyderco has chosen. Yes, it's made in China. And yes, it's analogous to about 420 stainless steel, which I hate. I'm not going to lie to you. I do not like 420 stainless steel. I think it's too soft. It's an underperforming knife steel. But again, let's keep it in the realm of reality. For an $8 blade, the upside, if there is one, with this steel choice is that it's very easy to sharpen, like I just mentioned. Okay, so it comes out of box and I'm like, not too impressed. I sharpen it up. Edge comes out pretty nice. This one's been sharpened. Nice. I don't have any paper handy. It cuts well. But I'm like, let's go test it like big time. So I took these knives out. At least I think I took the Honeybee and the Grasshopper out. Did some cardboard cutting. Boy, that's an abusive test, isn't it? For an edge. The impurities in cardboard, yeah, they'll take an edge out pretty quickly on most knife steels. And there were no surprises. Again, I'm just leveling with you guys. The knife went dull quick. Probably after, I don't know, 10 passes or so after my sharpening job, I was unimpressed with the edge. It still had cutting capability. If I went cross grain to relatively thick cardboard, it was having difficulties, and I was having difficulties too, getting it through safely. Remember, a sharp knife is a safe knife. And yes, I was wishing at that point that at least this larger version, the Grasshopper, was locking. It wasn't locking, and so be careful, because yeah, it can fold on you. The good news is all these bug knives, Grasshopper, Honeybee, Bug, have very positive snapping detents. Hear that? Excellent. And honestly, they're the most impressive, I call them subcompact, at least the Dragonfly. I'm going to say micros. They're the most impressive micro knives I've seen from a manufacturer, to include all the manufacturers, the ones that have interested me. That's why I'm doing this review. I wouldn't review it if I didn't love it and didn't recommend it, generally speaking. So it did good on cardboard cutting. There is some good news besides the steel, not besides, but the steel choice notwithstanding. Full flat ground, baby. Yep, and it mimics the lines of the big brothers in the Spyderco lineup. Maybe a little bit reminiscent of, again, the Endura. Some guys will say, well, I think it's more reminiscent, I don't know, the excellent Spyderco military. Maybe a cross. Actually, to me, it looks like a stainless steel police more than anything, shrunk down. And the more good news is, at least as far as grind goes, the full flat grind, the relief edge, this thing can cut. Yeah, I'm going above and beyond the steel choice. The same with a Honeybee. This thing can cut too. I did cardboard testing with a Honeybee as well. Did pretty good. Nutnfancy, why are you engraving everything? I'm just testing. I want to see if it's engravable. I'm practicing my engraving too with that, get better. That is a harder surface. It's harder to engrave, I don't know, than the Cadet, which is an aluminum handle. So it's easier to get a nice consistent lettering. I was just practicing. I think it's cool too. You know, engrave it. And I don't know, guys dig it, I guess. The Bug knife is probably my least favorite one, except for the following. If you are indeed looking for a keychain knife that you have an edge on you at all times, I think it's excellent, and it'd probably be my first choice. In other words, that I have other knives that I carry with me. Perhaps your girlfriend or someone just needs a little tiny functional edge to open up a package or something. This knife works. I mean, don't laugh, it works. And I won't fool around deploying it one-handed. I think these knives are best opened with two hands. They're just too small. The build quality on them is excellent. There is a little bit of movement side to side in this Grasshopper. I did check several examples, and it was in most of them. I think I have a Honeybee out here somewhere that it was actually no movement at all. So that will vary a little bit. You have contoured and rounded handles on all the models. You got the Spyderco logo on the models. A lanyard ring, which will go for the keychain, of course. You can see what I've done here. Attached that Kelty Trip Tease reflective guy line on it, which is pretty much what I use on a lot of stuff. You've seen that. That's because the flashlight, you can shine it. Great way to extract it out of your pocket. The downside on these, of course, I've pretty much talked about it. The steel choice. It's a lower quality steel, but remember the price point. You know, be realistic. It doesn't have a clip on it, which, again, might be an issue for some guys. But, you know, the Spyderco Dragonfly is $40, $35, $40. It has all that stuff and really good steel. I don't know, for utility cutting or maybe just occasional use, I think the blade steel will probably be pretty good. I mean, seriously, $4.50, $5.50, $8.50 at your corner store. Prices subject to change. Availability subject to change. How can you beat it? You can't. And check this out. In terms of size, here comes my SOG Flash 1 by way of reference, and you can see the Grasshopper. Still smaller than the SOG Flash 1, but full flat ground. Love it. Highly recommended. You talk about likability scale. Remember, cost is a huge thing to me, and what you get for your money. What you get for your money as of 2010 with the Spyderco bug knives pretty much rocks. Easy to sharpen. They lock substantially for what they are, a non-locking pocket knife. I mean, what more can I say? That's the Nutnfancy review. Hope you liked it. Thanks, dudes. We'll see you.